Good afternoon, everybody. For some reason, I lost my network connection there real quick. Um, Good afternoon. Welcome to my Hump Day Lunchtime Live. Glad you can join me if you're out there. If you are, chime in, say hello. I'm happy to hear from you, happy to see you. Um, Today, I wanted to talk about hope and what I hope we will achieve out of all of this that we're going through. That maybe society as a whole will be a better place after we've emerged from our shelter in place, and that we've had a chance to kind of almost reboot a little bit. And actually, before I get too far into it, I'm actually going to do that myself. After I'm done here this afternoon, 12:30 ish Pacific time, I'm going to switch off all my technology. I'm going to switch off my phone, my computer, my iPad, everything. I'm going analog. I'm going back to basics. I've got a landline phone here, and that's how I expect to be communicated with for the next 24 hours at least. So if you don't see me tomorrow, that's why I'm still switched off. I've had this sort of rationalization, whatever you want to call it, this morning, and it's all about my own hopes and my own fears and my own sense of building my own resilience from this morning. I actually, I've written my blog post, which will go live overnight. So that technology is all taken care of. Thankfully, I'm not going to have to do anything other than what I've already done. It's all scheduled, all ready to rock and roll. But my latest blog post is about kind of that what I went through this morning, and the reason why I'm switching off, and giving myself, my true self, some time to reboot. It's because I have hopes for the future here, that we're going to emerge from this a better society, better people, better selves as a result of what's going on. Maybe we'll have less selfishness in the world. Maybe we won't. I don't know. Gandhi once said, be the change you want to see in the world. So I'm practicing what I preach, and I am going to reboot my own resilience, my own self. Over these next 24 hours, I am just going to sit and go through what it is that I experienced myself this morning, and sit with that hope, with the ideal that that we can be better, that we will be better as a human race. I posed the question here: do you hope that things go back to normal? What is normal for us now? I don't think there's any chance that we will be going back to what was normal. I apologize. I meant to turn these notifications off, so sorry about that. Is normal what we want? I don't really think that that's a choice anymore. The normal that we've been used to, the society, the free-spiritedness, the challenges that we were easily overcoming with technology and travel and transport and all of that, it may all have to be revisited, not just from a personal point of view, but from just a practical point of view. We've had so many imports coming in thousands of miles from overseas, and there's evidence now that this COVID can be carried on packaging and on plastics and on food stuffs and all of this other stuff, and that's kind of scary when you think about it, that we could be importing it. It could outbreak like that again. So maybe we will move away from that sort of normal that we had prior to all of this kicking off. And I am kind of hopeful. I am. I like being a hopeful person, um, and my sort of purpose here is to just kind of to give of myself. My true purpose is to give love, to give the love that I have inside of me, that is boundless, timeless, and in effect infinite, to everyone. It doesn't matter that that I give it to myself, right? My cup is full, right? And it keeps filling because I know that I have love from others, and from my friends, and from my family, and from my pets, and from people, from strangers. Even strangers give me love, and provide that love. We all have this, this inside of us, and it is all part of our innate nature as human beings, to nurture and to be loving, right, and caring and kind. And again, part of what I've written my next blog post about, which goes live in the morning, is about that, and about what my purpose is, and what happened to me this morning in terms of my own sort of thought processes. And that's why I kind of chose hope, because even though I had a profound sadness, a profound period this morning where I had to review and dig deep inside of me to reflect on what it was that I was feeling, the emotions that I was sensing. It was really, really powerful and moving, and but it has given me hope. It has reinforced my hopefulness for the future, of not just my own future, but of all of humanity and society. I've mentioned Margaret Mead a couple of times, that her defining moment for us as a human civilization, when we became civilized as a society, was when we sacrificed, when we chose to support others through our own sacrifice, without really maybe getting something out of it. And that was the moment when an ancient one of our ancestors had broken a leg in such a bad way that that person would normally have been left for dead. Yet that leg had mended, and it had become usable again, which meant that other members of the tribe or society had looked after that person and allowed that person the opportunity to heal. And really, that was the dawn of civilization for mankind. And to me, that's a seminal moment that we're in right now. Yes, there are a lot of people out there who want things to be normal. They want the stock market to come back up. They want, the supermarkets to be open, and no waiting in lines 6 feet apart or anything like that. Not having to wear masks or gloves or any of these things. But the reality is that we're doing that not just for ourselves. We're doing that for the greater good of society. And, by doing so, it does offer me hope that we will emerge more caring, more kind, more considerate of others, more compassionate even. Is that possible? I don't know. I honestly don't. I hope it is, and I'm encouraged by the sort of daily audience that I have, the people that I see when when I'm doing these broadcasts. I am encouraged by it. I am hopeful that you all see the same thing that I see, or similar thing that I see, within your own sort of circles, your own tribes, your own your own sort of society, or slice of society, in your state or your town or even in your neighborhood. That maybe you're seeing neighbors helping neighbors that never even spoke with each other before. Maybe you're seeing, teachers giving students one-on-one time that they've never been able to give before because they're doing things by Zoom or whatever. There's all sorts of things happening here that really do give me hope for a better future for all of us. And, I'm not talking about politics because, let's put it this way. I mean, over all these years, it's always been it's not my guy that's the problem, it's your guy. That's why the same people get reelected all the time, right? I'm not talking about that sort of thing. What I'm really talking about is this whole approach that we as human beings have with each other, right? In our own backyards, in our own neighborhoods, in our own sort of, towns and regions and counties and states and, just in society as a whole. And we're doing this with purpose. And hopefully with a bit of compassion for those who are actually suffering from this. I know of several people personally. I know several people personally who have suffered with COVID. Two who were, nearly died but have survived. And it's not just like the flu. I had a conversation with somebody doing some work over at my house yesterday. I mean, yes, we kept social distance. And he said, it's just like a normal flu season. It's just a little bit more of a spike. Yeah, it's normal flu season too. Okay, this is in addition to normal flu season. Okay, so we may have lost 15, 20,000 people to the flu or 30,000 people to the flu this year. But we've also lost more than 50,000 people just in the United States alone to COVID. And without these measures in place, I firmly believe that those numbers would have been staggering. They would have been far greater. The flattening of the curve thing is the thing, right? It's working, okay? It is making things better for everybody. The problem that we face is that by opening up too quickly, we are running the risk of spikes, okay? And that's exactly what happened in 1918 with the Spanish flu, okay? 4 to 5 million people, not 45, 4 to 5 million people died in the first wave. Then they relaxed restrictions and another 45 million people died. 50 million people died. So 10 times the number died after the restrictions were lifted because they lifted them too quickly. So my hope is that we don't lift those restrictions too quickly and that we do, be and act more cautious and more sort of compassionate, not just to ourselves, but to others, right? I wrote something, and it'll be in my blog post for those of you who follow me on A Widower's Way or on my Widower's Way Facebook page. Basically, I'm guilty. I don't say any of these things, and I don't talk about any of these things because I lack personal experience in them, okay? I have the personal experience of not being hopeful, of being unkind, of being unloving, of being, a not very nice person. I think we all have. But, but I am now a hopeful person who tries to live from my heart, right? From the center of my universe, in everything that I do. And part of that means being kind, honest, caring, and open, not just to the people that I love, but literally to everyone. Because in actual fact, in order to be kind and loving, you can't be unkind and unloving. It just doesn't work that way. You can't be mean to one person and be kind and loving to everyone, right? You can be indifferent. Okay, yes, you can be indifferent, but you can't be mean. You can't be cruel and claim that you're a loving, kind person. It just doesn't work that way. I'm sorry. So, from my perspective and from, where I'm sitting here, the whole of this situation with how we've been behaving as a society really gives me hope that the normal that we had before is not the normal that we have at the end. That we do come out of this more compassionate and more caring and more open as a society. That we, in this period while we're, helping our elderly neighbors, do their shopping and whatnot, we don't stop doing that. Let's keep doing that for our elderly neighbors. Let's keep supporting those children that have the special needs that, are getting one-on-one attention from their teachers because they're zooming in one-on-one. It's those sorts of things that really give me pause and make me think, wow, this is what we are capable of as a society. And it's taken a pandemic to really drive that home, which is scary because, otherwise we just trot along like lemmings and, heading towards the cliff. And, it's been that way for far too long in this, not just in this country, but in this world. The fact that we can see the Himalayas clearly for the first time in decades. The fact that there's no pollution measurable in Los Angeles. That there's very, very limited pollution now in New York, Connecticut, New Jersey corridors where the, pollution levels have been skyrocketing. China, India, Africa, all are recovering from, the damage that we as humans have been doing to the earth. It's basically, like I said this morning, when I started off here, that I may not be here tomorrow because I'm going to do a 24-hour reboot. I'm going to sit with what I went through this morning personally, and I'm going to switch off all my tech and just walk away and just go and be somewhere. It's basically what the earth has done. And that was what my epiphany was this morning. Really, maybe this is a really good opportunity, and of course I don't expect you to do it during the working week when you're supposed to be working, right? But there's nothing stopping you from doing it on a Saturday or Saturday through a Sunday or the whole of the weekend. Switch off on Friday afternoon and don't switch back on until Monday morning. There's nothing to stop you from doing that. And who knows, if today goes well, maybe I will do that too. But like I said, it's my choice. It's something that I've chosen to do because I feel inside of me that in order to continue to give what I'm giving, and this is a gift that I'm giving to everyone. These talks from my heart to you is a gift. It's my gift to everybody, and I give it freely and willingly. It's all about love. It's all about caring. It's all about life, and life as I see it. So from that perspective, I just want people to to take my message of hope and maybe run with their own, or pick up their own, or think of their own messages of hope that help them, help you to be more hopeful about a future that's better and brighter and different than how it's been. Yeah, I mean, some of us have had really good lives, and it's been a really great past, and yeah, of course we would want it to go back to that if it's been really great for you personally. But I think for the most part, nobody's had a perfect life. Nobody. And, even those people that we believe have led charmed lives, right? And by that I mean those people who seem to always get, the good things and always seem to do well. They were the top of the class in school, and, they've never come down, right? Always the good girl, or always the best boy, or whatever, right? I look back and even at my own high school experience, and I think to myself, well, what was that all about? Why would we, assume that people just have these charmed lives when chances are that they're dealing with something, grief or trauma or whatever deep inside of them that's actually driving them to be that person, right? It's their way of coping with whatever it is that they've had in their experience. And that's kind of how I am now, right? I've spent these last 6-8 months waking up my true inner self and really trying to get in touch and nurture that true self. And I'm just, I'm a sensitive person, I'm a compassionate person, I'm a kind person, and I have failed at doing that and being that person for much of my adult life. And it's very humbling to realize that that's not who I've been, that I've been trying really hard to be somebody else, someone else. And I knew months ago that it was exhausting doing that. And I discovered that it was a lot easier for me to be my true self by just letting that true self do the talking, do the walking, driving my everything that I do from my heart. And it's not always easy, and it's not always possible. I've lapsed back. I've closed myself off, mainly as a protective mechanism to stop myself from being hurt or stop myself from feeling too much in this time of pandemic. But that's just who I am as a person. Sometimes it can be overwhelming, and I do feel like I have been overwhelmed, and that's why this morning's piece for me has been to decide that I need to switch off. I need to take a step back from technology and just disengage and go analog, as I say. I mean, like I said, I've got my landline, and the people who matter know how to reach me that way. And it's not that nobody, I'm sorry, that sounds really crass. I'm sorry about that. Everybody matters in my life, right? In my tribe, you all matter. But those people who may need to get in touch with me know how to. Let's put it that way. So, like my children and my person. It's just, for me, this whole period has been such a tremendous sort of burden on so many people, and there's been so much, I don't want to say negativity, but there's been so much that has been sort of dropped on our shoulders as humans, that I think it has been overwhelming for a lot of people. And there's a lot of emotions, there's a lot of sense of despair, and a lot of feeling of helplessness, and even some hopelessness. So that's why I wanted to talk about, what I hope for, and what I think a lot of people hope for out there, for the foreseeable future, and for our, next few, hopefully, generations, that maybe we can be better. We can do better as a society. We can certainly demand better. We can demand better of our, of our leaders, of our, local county offices and county officers and state officers and federal officers and people that, that we entrust to look after us as a society. And, the idea that, certain people are, we're okay to sacrifice certain people for the sake of the greater good. Well, yeah, that's an interesting concept. It kind of reminds me of the Aztecs and the Mayans, who used to sacrifice virgins in the fires for the, to pacify the gods. Is that what we're doing? Is that what our, elected officials feel is necessary for the sake of the economy? I don't know. I mean, to me, it just seems barbaric. But maybe other people feel differently. Maybe people think that, well, yeah, it's okay that we sacrifice 0.5% of the population for this greater good of the 99.5%. I often think of the saying that I grew up with when we played team sports. There's no I in team, right? So, it's not about me, right? But I also remember one other saying, and that is that a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And if we give permission and allow society to determine that, sorry, 1 in every 1,000 of you is just going to have to die for the rest of us, well, that's pretty barbaric. That's a pretty crappy society from my perspective. What I would prefer to see, what I hope for, is that we would actually rather choose to try and make it easier for people to seek medical help. One of the things that I've read in the last couple of days is that not only has there been this 50,000 plus people who've died from COVID, there's been a huge spike in additional, what they call extra deaths. Okay, and that spike is those people who have failed to seek medical advice. Thank you, Marisol. Yes, you're absolutely right. It's not okay to sacrifice anyone. But the reality is that these people have chosen not to seek medical attention or advice for fear of, getting COVID or whatever else. And people are dying at home. They're dying in nursing homes and in other places because they're afraid to seek medical advice. 1, 2, they can't afford it in too many cases, and 3, there's just no space for them. In some of the places where these huge numbers of people have been treated for COVID, there's no beds. There's no ICU beds for the heart attack victims, for the stroke victims, for the for those people who are suffering from cancer and ALS and other diseases that debilitate and kill just as broadly as as COVID does. But the reality is that we are having to sacrifice people for the sake of society. And to me, that shouldn't be an option, right? And I think that so there's this thing, and I take everything that I read and see with a grain of salt, and particularly from certain sources. But there were 2 California doctors who I guess have now been removed from YouTube. I watched a video the other day, and the doctor here was saying that you have a 0.1% chance of dying in California. And that's absolutely correct, because that's how little the numbers are in California. In New York, you have a much higher chance. Of the, I guess, 650,000 people that they've tested in New York, nearly 40% have tested positive for COVID. So that's nearly 40% of the tested population. Now, if you extrapolate that out over the entire population of New York of 20 million, that means 40% of the 20 million, so nearly 8 million people, have been infected with COVID. Now, only however many 30 plus thousand have died. That means that there's just literally 0.05% of the population that have COVID are dying from it. That is brilliant, okay? That is a fantastic thing to extrapolate out, except data doesn't work that way. reality doesn't work that way. Okay? If you expose more people, if you have those people that are being tested are usually the ones who are showing symptoms, right? So there is 40% of the people that are showing symptoms that are COVID-like are being tested, testing positive. The other 60% are not positive. That means that they're having symptoms that are similar to COVID but are not testing positive, okay? So that means they're either got the flu or some other respiratory infection or whatever. Anyway, I'm running out of time here. I don't want to keep you guys too long, but I just wanted to talk about this one thing that it kind of really irritated me in one way, because basically it leads to this idea that we are okay to sacrifice people for the sake of opening up the economies, the states, the businesses and such. And personally, I'm not okay with that. Okay? I have this tribe of people that I have been associated with for 18 months plus, who are all widows and widowers. We've all lost the person closest with us in our lives at one stage or another. Okay? The idea of sacrificing anyone for the sake of this economy is abhorrent to me, personally. That's why I have hope that those of us who feel that same way will win out in the end. I really do. Anyway, so like I said a couple of times in this last half an hour, I am going to be switching off shortly and literally switching everything off, like turning them off, not just on silent, not putting them away. I'm putting them away. For at least the next 24 hours or 23 and a half hours. So if I'm not back here at 12 noon tomorrow, that'll be why. Okay, I may take longer, I may take less, I don't know. But I do feel like I need to switch off and reboot. So I am going to do that. I wish you all a wonderful, happy hump day. Yes. Yes, thank you, Marisol. I do appreciate it. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Everyone has somebody who's hurting, and and we're all going to be grieving at the end of this, in one way or another. We will be grieving a lot of things, but I do appreciate you. Thank you, Marisol, for saying that, because yeah, it's not comparable. It's totally different than the flu. It is really different than the flu. But I do appreciate your input, and I appreciate everyone watching. Thank you very much. If you don't see me tomorrow, it is because I'm completely switched off. And I will probably see you on Friday. And, well, I hope to see you tomorrow, but if not, I will probably see you on Friday. So take good care, be safe, stay home, and look after yourself and your loved ones, and stay hopeful. I am. I really appreciate it, everybody. See you soon. Thank you.